Good evening, everybody. Listen to that. 10,000 flight hours on a hot air balloon, 40 years of ballooning career. These are the impressive numbers of the career of Giovanni Aimo, an Italian balloonist living right away on the other side of the Alps compared to where I am. So we have a lot going on this FlyDOO Café Live Show. I'm very excited for that. And we will jump right into that with our guest right after our What's up, everybody? Here is Leandro from FlyDOO Balloons. I'm so excited, and we will jump straight into it. I just want to remember everybody of you watching now this live. This is a live show, and the good thing about that is that you can be part of it. We have a live session of question and answers, and our guest today will be able to answer them as long as you are posting your comments in the FlyDOO Balloons Facebook channel or in my personal profile, but let's say the FlyDOO Balloon, so you can put a like on that. So make sure you are commenting there. Any questions will be answered by the end of the show. So there is a lot to do now, so let's welcome our guest. Good evening.
Ciao Leandro, good evening everybody.
Thank you so much, Giovanni, for joining us on this show. I'm really happy about that. We have a lot to cover here. So, Giovanni, you are one of a kind balloonist in the international scene. And I want, we will have to start from the very beginning, but in order to tell people why, one of the reasons you are so special, let me bring on screen one picture, and you can comment on that because I'm really impressed about that. These are impressive numbers, John.
Yes, they are. It took a few years to get there, but it was my dream, and I managed to get it. And normally my average is around 250, 300, sometimes 350 hours a year. So this year is a bit lower because of the virus. So we had to stay for nearly 3 months grounded, but I'm getting better now. Flying again.
We might catch up.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. So these are more than 10,040 years of career. Is that correct? When was your first balloon flight?
My first balloon flight was January 1980. During a flight with my instructor, Tom Sage, we needed to have the balloon approved by the Civil Aviation Authority of Italy. And so we had to test the balloon because the engineer of the Civil Aviation Authority had to fly the following days. So we did this flight. That was the balloon.
Is that one?
Yeah.
The very first.
A Viva 77 with a Mark II burner with the famous red frame, single burner, very low power at the time.
Okay.
No poles, no inflator.
No uprights.
No uprights, yeah. So you had to be very careful during hard landings, and no inflators. So that was my beginning with the balloons, yes.
The no inflator side is pretty impressive. I mean, so ballooning was really a sport. We say it's too hard today, but at that time it was twice as hard.
was very hard. It took hours to inflate the balloon, and most of the time, when you started inflation, after 1 or 2 burns, the parachute was falling in, and you had to start all over again. At that time, we had no Velcros on the parachute.
So at what time did you have to wake up then for inflating a balloon? The day before?
Yeah. It was very, very, very long, and we needed a lot of help because we needed someone to hold the mouth of the balloon open. And then when we started with the inflators and we learned a little bit more, we never use anyone at the mouth of the balloon. It's just myself and the inflator and someone at the crown line. I don't need anyone to hold the mouth. But when we started, we needed.
Impressive. So I found some even older pictures. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes. This is me when I was doing my what's called the second degree license. That was the fixed wing license. This was a beautiful small aerobatic aeroplane called the Falco F8L. And this is where I got my aircraft license in 1968. I got the first license 1966, and this one in 1968.
So basically you started from airplanes, right? And then you moved to balloon.
I started with the fixed wing aircraft at Cuneo Aero Club. And then in 1979, the president of our aero club managed to register the first balloon in Italy, who was a Cameron Viva 77. And then he was looking for, he was looking for volunteers among the pilots. And I was the only one to volunteer. We needed to speak a good English, to have a minimum of 200 hours. And most important, to be willing to be an instructor after this. So I could get the license free of charge, but then I had to teach other pilots. So that was my career of instructor.
Yeah, so you were a very loyal collaborator because you kept doing it for 40 years, right?
Oh, well, for 15 years, I was instructor at Cuneo Aero Club in Cuneo Level DG Airport. And then when the airport became a very important international airport with the fencing all around, it was very complicated for everyone, and the aero club stopped, and we moved to Mondovì, where I live, and we started our own aero club 15 years ago. But we were born in Cuneo Airport.
Okay. I have a few sections in mind to cover all your career and try to put some milestones into this little 1 hour program. We have like the strangest machines you have flown, the most maybe famous or interesting students you had, some records, some epic flights, and some other personal achievements. So if you agree, I will put some pictures on, and you can comment and build up on them if you agree. Let me just remember everybody watching now, if you want to put a comment and write and ask a question to John Aimo, he will be glad to answer, but do it on the FlyDOO Balloons Facebook page, okay? I will see it and bring it up to screen by the end of the show. So let's go straight into it. I have so many pictures here. So there is an impressive one here. I mean,
yes, this one remembers me of my first World Championship, World Balloon Championship in 1983 in Nantes. And there was this huge, incredible basket under a big balloon that was called Le Flessel, and everyone was going on the stairs to take pictures. That was incredibly big for that time. Now probably is a small one, but at that time was the biggest balloon in the world.
Okay. Yeah, it's really impressive. So there are some other machines here I see. Tell me something about that one.
Yeah, this is my D-38 airship, single-seater airship. That was the the first small airship built by Don Cameron. In fact, it was the Cameron company demonstrator. And I bought it because I wanted to get my airship license. And there was no airship available in Italy, obviously. So to get my license, I had to buy an airship.
Okay.
And as you see, we are in Cuno Airport. It was winter. And I was doing one of my first flights. And it was funny because I was sitting on a horizontal tank, and I had another tank in front of me. And
I see that.
Yes, and this is that now. This the car of this airship is at the aviation museum in Malpensa Airport, called the Volandia Museum.
Okay.
And so the airship now is there. It was a toy. It was so easy to inflate it, like a normal. It was not very fast.
One, right, John?
Sorry?
Is this one on the picture?
Yeah, is this one on the picture with the number 1? This is at the World Championship in 1988 in Luxembourg. Yeah, it's this one.
Okay. Yeah. And on that design, there were no curtains, right? For the load inside.
No. In fact, if you look at the old barrage balloon during the Second World War, this is exactly a copy of it. Exactly the replica with the tiny engine. It was a Fuji engine, 250 cubic centimeter inverted cylinder, and it was like a toy.
Okay, so staying in that category, I have a couple more of pictures here that seem to be of a bit of more modern times, like that one.
Yeah.
So this is side by side, right?
Yes, this is the grandchildren of the D38 you have seen. This is the DP-77. It's the new small airship that Don Cameron built for himself, and this prototype is flying very well. Should have been here in Mondovì, but the virus stopped everything. But hopefully will come again in autumn here in Mondovì. Yeah.
Okay, so staying in airships, you went a long way. I mean, you even told me you went up to the Goodyear big one, but let's go step by step. I have another one here.
Yeah, this is the DP-70 that I bought second-hand from the Cameron dealer of Germany, together with my instructor Tom Sage, and we operated this airship for a few years in Mondovì for training, mainly for training and for fun. Okay. And this was a 2-seater with a big rip panel on top. The engine was a Koenig 3-cylinder, but the problem was always the temperature inside, because the gondola was heavy, so you had to fly mainly in cold conditions, because otherwise the thermistor was reading 120, 130, 140 and more.
Okay.
So it was a bit scary.
Okay, so you
airship, David Templeman Adams set the world speed record for hot air airships. Yeah, in Mondovì.
Here is it.
Yeah.
So, by the way, there is something more to tell about this guy, right?
Yeah, this guy, he came here to get his license for airship, just to be able to get this world speed record, because he's a collector of records. He has a lot of records in ballooning. But and his daughter was also one of my students. But what I consider the most incredible flight he did is when I went with a balloon from the Svalbard Islands to the North Pole and came back to the same place after a journey of nearly more than 1,000 miles to the pole and back. Obeying to the instruction of Luc Trulemans, the famous Belgian meteorologist. That's unbelievable. Go to the north, go around the pole and come back home. That's incredible. This is most incredible.
Come back home. I mean, that's
come back home.
Entire and safe. Impressive. Impressive. I mean, there is something to study about all of that and look back to that, because I really need to understand a bit more. So
now
I have some.
Sorry, this tells you how good are now the meteorologists, and how good now are the trajectories we can get from these experts when we want to plan our long distance flight. And I use these trajectories, and they work on a very big scale. They are working very fine. Yes.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, everything is different now regarding that in competition, Gordon Bennett, and all of that. Oh, I just named the Gordon Bennett, and by accident I have John Aimo in the gas balloon here. What a coincidence!
This is another dream. I fly. I am so lucky to be able to fly with a gas balloon, because in Italy there is only one gas balloon in Milan, owned by Enzo Cesaro, who has been the first balloon pilot in Italy years ago. And I shared with him a lot of competition, World Air Games in Spain, World Championships. And we managed also 2 Gordon Bennetts in France, from Vichy and Nancy. So after nearly 80 years, there was again an Italian team at the Gordon Bennett.
Okay. Okay, I have this other picture. Is that the Italian balloon?
Yes, that was the first gas balloon we had in Italy, registered in Italy. And this is an incredible picture that we rented Cuneo Airport for a few days, and we tethered this balloon at 1,000 meters, 1,000 meters, and to do experiment on the secret antenna for the Tornado jet fighter. So what you see hanging under the basket is an instrument box of an Italian aircraft company that needed to do these experiments. So we had a fiber optic cables that was going down to the ground, and we could set the balloon up and down 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. So, and they were doing their experiments. So this balloon stayed tethered in the airport for 3 days. You could see this balloon from everywhere in Cuneo province. So 1,000 meter, yeah.
So, but it was meant, so you stayed in it for 3 days.
Yeah. There was Enzo Cesaro inside, and we were on the ground using pickup and tractors to pull the balloon up and down. Yeah. That's
okay, because what I see below seems a bed, actually, a 2-person bed. It's like a marketing campaign or something.
A big metal box full of instruments
okay.
that we left in the hangar of the airport. And the last day, a general of the Italian Air Force came and started shouting because it was secret stuff, and we left it unattended in the hangar of the aircraft.
Okay.
We didn't know that was so important for the for the aviation.
So just back to close the airship chapter, I know you told me that you also have flown and you are qualified on the Gefaflug and up to the Goodyear, right?
Well, no, for the Goodyear, it was just approved as for maintenance, not as a pilot, because we needed to operate the Goodyear, not the first one, that was the original big one. It was a light ship, 1,500 cubic meter, that was based in Italy, and it took our company more than 1 year to have the approval from the Civil Aviation Authority to operate this with the UK and American pilots. But INAC, Civil Aviation Authority, wanted an Italian maintenance man. So I had to study to be approved for the maintenance of this airship. And they flew a few times. But problem that then the company closed the factory in Frosinone, south of Rome, and the airship was in Rome Urbe Airport, and the unions were not happy at all for this. So they threatened to destroy the airship. So Goodyear canceled all the operations in Italy. So that was the end of gas airship. But the first gas airship in Italy was Giovanni Abrate, who, funny enough, was the one that sold the hot air balloon to Cuneo Aero Club president galores in 1979. Giovanni Abrate was the pilot of the Goodyear airship registered November 2 Alpha that was based north of Rome. So there is this link with airships and balloons as well.
So then, talking about strange machines, we are just doing a little list of all what you have seen and tested. I have a couple of shapes also, right? You have been also Fiesta pilots of some key shapes of the Italian landscape, I would say.
Yeah, this was a terrible one. I mean terrible because it was very, very heavy and was perfect. Because it was exactly like a real cheese form. But to fly with this was difficult because it had a strange behavior. You could burn, and nothing was happening. And then suddenly it was skyrocketing at high speed, not going straight, but swiveling around the sky. So I did this in Cuneo City, because there was the Giro d'Italia, the cycling tour arriving there, and they took off there. And again, nothing was happening. I was burning, and then like a rocket. And looking up, you could see nothing because the balloon was on your side. So my wife remembers, she was very scared. And then the same year, we were flying this shape in Châteaudet, and Don Cameron saw us doing the same. And when we landed, he told us, "Come here," and gave us a plate to put in the basket. Maximum vertical speed 200 feet.
Okay.
of the flight manual, maximum vertical speed because of the behavior. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think that there are not many ways to force it, the real behavior of a special shape that you put it in the air.
Because of the funny shape, yeah.
So yeah, let's move to some of your students. I mean, you're probably the most dedicated flight instructor around. For such a long time, you have making it your main activity, right? So, which is impressive. So how many students did you teach?
I think in total from the beginning, that in fact the beginning was 1992, because the president of our aero club, he wanted me to start immediately as soon as possible, but we need to get some experience. So 1981, 82, we started teaching in Cuneo Airport. And so far, I think I had around 330 students so far, yeah.
It's impressive. I mean, if people know, I mean, most probably people watching have an idea, but the engagement that the flight instructor has to put in from ab initio to delivering a license to a student is a big commitment. It's not like teaching cooking a plate or a dish. Like it's a huge thing. So this is in name of the 350 students, John, for you.
No, it was complicated, but many of my old students, then they started maybe their own company. They are professional pilots, and a few of them obviously they got the license and they never flew again. But a few of them continued and they have companies. So I have to say that, for example, here around Mondovì, we have a sort of aerostatic district with companies that take passengers, build burners, ultralight balloons like you know the guy, Paolo Bonan. And so we have many pilots in this area. That the highest concentration of pilot per number of inhabitants in Italy is obviously in Mondovì.
It is. Yeah, we will talk about the Aero Club and all of that a bit later. So tell me somebody about who is this guy here.
This guy is an incredible guy, Fedor Konyukov from Russia. He came as a student, starting from zero, no flight hours at all. He had done a lot of other things, has crossed the Atlantic and the Pacific rowing, had gone walking to the North Pole, South Pole, the highest mountains in all continents. And his dream was doing a flight around the world. And just 1 year later. Well, after being with me in Mondovì, he went with Benny Eimers in Germany for the gas ballooning part because he had to fly a Rosier balloon. And then he did his incredible round-the-world flight from Australia, the west side of Australia. Cotham is the name of the place. He took off from there, went all around the world, and landed 1 or 2 miles from he took off. So this is another incredible flight, flying all around the world, more than 36,000 kilometers in 11 days, flying always at 9,000 meters to get the fast wind, and landing very, very, very close where he took off. That
impressive. An impressive achievement. Well, I was impressed that in the European press or TV media, it had almost no coverage. I mean, it was a huge achievement, but for some reason, he deserved much more attention, I think.
Yeah, it was mainly on Russian TV and those. In Europe, everything aviation is not considered at all, especially in Italy. No one cares unless you have to crash to make a newsreel. You have to crash, otherwise aviation doesn't exist. But he was a very nice guy. He is a pope of the church. He is one of the pope of the astronauts in Russia. A good friend of Putin. One good thing is that he can get sponsors more easily probably than what
I imagine. This can help. Yeah. So I have. Let's move to someone else. I found this one. I don't know if you. It's a very low res, but do you know?
Yeah, this was Jorge Delano, who was one of my airship students. Himself and his wife at that time, that was the ex-wife of Brian Boland, Brian Boland from the United States. She was a very, very tiny lady, very, very light. And they both wanted the airship license because he wanted to buy his own airship in the colors of his company. He had a huge company making ceramics in Venezuela. So he has written a beautiful book with a lot of pictures of his flights across the Andes, and also taking off from those huge, enormous holes in the ground that are in the jungle in Venezuela. So he was taking the balloon down and then exiting like a rocket from the hole, or flying from his big yacht upwind from the atolls in the ocean, and then landing in the atoll, and then picking up the balloon with his helicopters.
Impressive. I've seen an interesting video about all what you said on Vimeo. So if you just search for Jorge Delano, you will find something, and it's pretty impressive. Yeah, a sense of adventure like a few others, but maybe like this one as well.
Yeah, this one is the famous Steve Fawcett. That was here because being interviewed by the Italian TV, he came here because he wanted to set the world speed record with the airship. And I told him, but if you want an airship license, you need to get the real license with an airship. That is totally different because the hot air airship is just a rating on the balloon license. But he wanted to start with the hot air airship. And then he did the world record with the Zeppelin anti-airship much later. So he managed to fly with the big gas one. The funny thing is that he was always doing records, whatever he was doing. So he had to come to Kuno Airport with his Citation X twin jet aircraft. And they called me, Giovanni, I have to delay for maybe 2 or 3 days because I am crossing the Atlantic with a catamaran to set a new speed record across the ocean. And then 2 days later, he called me, Giovanni, there are only 25 knots and it's too slow for me, so I go back. So I will come next week. So he came with his Citation X from California, if I remember. And during the journey, he set another speed record with a twin jet. And then he stayed with us for a week, flying every day. And he was a very nice guy. Very nice guy. Yeah.
Impressive.
You know what?
So,
incredible. He did so many attempts to fly around the world. He managed to fly around the world in the end. And then he crashed with a small aircraft. He survived an incredible amount of accidents, ditching in the ocean, in the desert. And then he lost his life with a small single-engine aircraft.
Yeah, in the United States, right?
Yeah.
I think that he was never found, actually, right? Or was he?
Yeah, they found only some bones and his license, because probably wild animals had eaten everything. Yeah.
So they found the plane also. Okay, didn't know that.
Some rats,
okay.
yes.
Okay, so I would like we go very shortly over competitions before we move to the nowadays John Aimo, Mondovì, your vision about ballooning and a bit of tips for new students. So competition and John Aimo, what happened there?
Well, from the very beginning, I said, well, it's impossible that we cannot steer the balloon a little bit. Because with my English instructor, Tom Sage, at that time, the way was what we call the English landing. That was fast landing, pulling the rip, and drag landing every time, and just flying in one direction. And then we learned that little by little it was possible, just changing altitude, studying the wind. It was possible maybe to go around, to come back to the same place, or to steer. And I think that this is very useful for the safety of your flying. So what I teach to all my students is not just to let the balloon, the air, take you where he wants, but try always to go where you want. And you learn this if you do competition, if you see a lot of other pilots doing incredible things. So I started 1982 in Luxembourg, the European Championship. Then 93 in France, the world, and that's when I did nearly all the world and European championships since then. And it's beautiful for me when I managed to reach the target. Still now, after so many years, after so many competitions, when I reach the cross, my heart starts beating stronger. I have to go there. And still now, even now that everything is electronic, is not as amusing as before, where you had to drop the marker on the target. But now I think it's too much with all these electronics, these incredible balloons, these racers that go up and down like rockets. I think is not as nice as it was. But still, in everyday flight, I always try to go on my target, and I always teach my students to go there.
Okay, so you have been Italian champion for quite a bit of times, I think, right?
Yes. Well, I with one of my students, Paolo Barbieri, we organized the first championship near Reggio Emilia many years ago, and since then I think it's the 34, 35. Won last year, and I won 7 times, and I've been 11 times second, and 4 or 5 times third.
Okay.
And well, we are not many pilots. Sometimes we are 15, sometimes 20, sometimes 10. We are not many competition pilots in Italy because it's it's an expensive sport. You need a crew, you need a lot of things. And organizing championships is very complicated here in Italy. But still, I like competition. But what I forgot to tell you last time, that I am very proud of having been a good pilot in the mountains in Châteaudet. I have been there many times, and I won once the David Niven Cup for the long distance, and the Michel Arnoux Cup for small balloons, distance for small balloons. But we had no GPS, nothing at that time. So we have only a map. So I did a lot of flying in Châteaudet. Now it's incredibly expensive to go there just for fun. And
Okay.
the other thing is that we were mainly going to Chateau because of the long distance. Years ago, it was possible to do long distance every day during the week, apart from the weekends. So you could try 1, 2, or 3 long distance. And then they started to make only one. And then they restricted it to the border of Switzerland because of problems with traffic control in Europe. But still, the long distance from Chateau is a dream. One of the best flights you can do in winter is from Chateau, certainly.
Right. Great place. I've been there also. So I also have some records written down. So I think this year you did something pretty impressive. But yeah, I have some impressive altitude and duration numbers here. Can you remember as?
Yeah. Compared to the world record, this is nothing, obviously. But Italy is very small, and we cannot do long distances. We have a lot of problems. We have a lot of airports. So, and also we want to use the balloon for the records. We want to use them again for flying ourselves. So we cannot throw away a balloon just to do a record. Anyway, I did the Italian altitude, 9,450 meters, and the duration 12 hours and a quarter in a 105. And then in February, I did a long distance one from near Mondovì to Mantova, 7 hours and 20 and nearly 300 kilometers. But this is the maximum I can do from home, without going through the sea. Is on land I can go maximum 400, 450 if I find friendly air traffic controllers. And Italy is small. The ideal place for record is Canada. This is why David Adams goes there, to do big, enormous space, no traffic, very, very cold, so you can do whatever you want.
Okay. So I want now that we come a bit closer to John nowadays, to John or Giovanni. By the way, you have to explain this to John or Giovanni. I should have started
Giovanni for the foreigners, especially for the English speaking, and John for the Italians, because I was one of the first to study English language at our school, because everyone was studying French. And so my friends started to joke, John, so this is why. Okay. And also I had a motorcycle racing team when I was younger, because I was racing enduro bikes, and so it was called Moto Club John. So the name stayed, and my company is Giovanni Aimo Balloons. So everyone abroad knows where we are, what I am.
So we have to say you live in an amazing place for flying, and I mean it's a coincidence, but at the same time, I mean it's the reason you can log so many hours and all of that, and you have nurtured a real love for that place. So I will put up some of the pictures, and you can tell us all your feelings related to where you fly.
This is the Tower of Mondovì. That is considered the target of nearly all our flights, and also in competition. We used to have a target during the World Air Games 2009 that we organized here. The target was just 100 feet exactly above the tower. From there, we have a beautiful view, and you can see we have mountains all around. You are just on the other side of the mountains. But sometimes I would like to try to do a flight from where you are to Mondovì. I think it's possible. We need to have right trajectories.
We need to study. So here is another beautiful view of Mondovì.
Oh yes, this is the east side, and this is the typical condition in winter. We have normally a lot of snow, and so this is a typical day. In a day like this, you can log 8 hours of flying with no problems. Just starting, changing tanks, I continue flying.
Impressive. Yeah, so here we come. That's one of your recent pictures, right, John?
Yeah. I think this is the very last. This is sunset. Sorry. This is the last one I did. last Monday, solo flying my duo air chair. And this is a morning flight. This is the east side of Mondovì. And so you see the tower, the cathedral, and the Belvedere Gardens. So this is the historic part of Mondovì. And I was taken off from the Citadel. That is one of the beautiful places in Mondovì. I like sometimes to fly solo because it's not very often that I can fly solo. I am always with students. So I enjoy flying solo.
Right. It's impressive. That's something I find it truly great. I mean, you still enjoy flying like when you started, actually.
Yeah. So it's same as before at the first flight, because if I see a beautiful day, the real crisp air, all the mountains around, I have to go. I take my balloon, even if there is no one helping me. I can inflate a 105 totally alone, with no help of everyone. The problem is the retrieve. So when I land, I call my wife, please can you come with your car, because she doesn't want to drive the car with the trailer. And then I go back to get my car with the trailer. I have done this a few times, but still I like to fly as the beginning.
Okay, so Mondovì is not just a beautiful place to fly, but there has been something more going on related to ballooning, and this is really worth explaining because it's a unique situation, I think.
Yeah, this is the opening ceremony, the inauguration of our, what we call the balloon port. That is a unique structure owned by the city of Mondovì. So we are here with the mayor and some authorities. The thing came because during the Winter Olympics in 2006, Piedmont region had some money to give to, they was called minor sports not linked to football. And there was a lot of money for this. And the mayor of Mondovì told me, Giovanni, can you invent something for this? Because there is this money. So we did this project of a balloon port that was a launch site, a briefing room, the school, a restaurant, a hangar. And we were the first on top of 400 projects. So we won 700,000 euros from the region. So now the property is of the town, and we as Aero Club, we operate this structure. And we could do this because in 2005, I had founded with some pilots the Mondovì Aero Club. That is this one. So having an Aero Club that was the only one in Cuneo province helped us to get the organization of the World Air Games in 2008, 2009, having this good structure. So now we have many foreign pilots that leave their trailer at our Aero Club. Someone even leaves the car, and maybe they are from UK and they just get a cheap flight with Ryanair, EasyJet, and they come to Mondovì to fly. That is much easier than UK. Apart the weather, the scenery, the incredibly good food and wine, is that all the fields are open. There is no problem with the farmers. We have been very kind with the farmers, so farmers' relations are very good here. And so a lot of pilots come here from abroad to fly.
So yeah, and we should tell anybody that wants to mix a vacation and ballooning vacation somewhere and visit Italy, eat well. This is the place to be, actually. Mondovì, the Aero Club is impressive. Yeah, you have all the infrastructure for balloonists, and I mean there is a lot of experienced pilots being there for assistance, and you will also have a small restaurant in the Aero Club himself. So
yeah, there is a nice restaurant and very good and very cheap and
impressive. How good and cheap it is. Yeah. I recommend.
So for flying here is an easy place, and also most of the time we know exactly where we go after takeoff. If you do the same thing every time, you know that in the morning we have the katabatic wind following the valleys. So it's safety because you know already your area. and then when we want to go long distance on long flights, we go somewhere else, or we go maybe to the north to come down. But the area is very easy to fly.
Yeah, it's very flat and you feel truly safe. I have some other views maybe here. This is another great view from Mondovì.
This balloon, the balloon you see in this picture, is the balloon of a couple of students from UK. They came here to me. They got the license, husband and wife, and then they decided when there was the Brexit in UK, they decided to move to Mondovì, and they rented a flat on top of the hill in the historic place, and now they bought a house in the mountains. So they have their own balloon. They also have the balloon of Tibet with the flag of Tibet on top. And just a tiny short story about this balloon. When we organized an international meeting at the Epiphany, just after the first of the year, 5, 6, normally is those days of January. And there was the first time this balloon was flying in Mondovì. And the Chinese embassy came to Mondovì pretending that we shouldn't allow this balloon to fly. So that's unbelievable. So look, they are pilots like everyone. The balloon is registered, so they have to fly with us.
Okay. Oh, man. Pretty impressive.
International politics.
Oh, yeah. So we have some comments here I will bring up in a while. I just want to remember people watching, just write down a comment right now, and in just a few minutes we will bring them up, and John will be glad to answer to your questions. I just want now to conclude a bit and talk about the John of today beside ballooning also. I know you are adding to flight also some other passion and activity recently, and you are also an activist. So tell us a bit more about John.
Yes, when you start flying, you look at the countryside and the environment. So I started enjoying so much looking at the countryside, and then I also started to take pictures and showing the pictures to the public. That I have a very privileged point of view looking at my countryside. And then I could see the very good thing and also the very bad thing, the noticing that I see. For example, the huge solar panels that were built. Now, luckily no more, in the open fields, that I think this is a crime to the nature. You should build the solar panels on the roofs of the buildings. We have millions of square kilometers of roofs where you could put those solar panels, not put them in the fields, take away our landing site. But apart this is just a crime to put them in these beautiful grass fields we have here. And then this is nothing to do with ecology. It's just pure money, investment of foreign companies coming here, because we discovered that Kuno province, it has a lot of sun, but it's also very cold. So this is the best mixture for solar panels. So everyone wanted to put the solar panels here. So and now the rules changed a bit, so they cannot do them anymore. But there is too many for me. And also, I want to keep the countryside as beautiful as possible as it is. So another thing I am keen of is of the garbage that a lot of people throws away. So from my point of view, I can see them very well. So I take pictures and then I report to the town council, and they send the company to clean. And,
yeah, there was even a name for that. You told me you are called Eco Volontari. No, how was that?
Yes, we together with an assessor of our town council, Erika Chiecchio, we set up this sort of association of eco-voluntaries. So all of them are on ground or car or bicycle, and I'm the only one flying. And so when we go around, we take pictures of the garbage thrown away everywhere, and then we send pictures to the town council and to the company that collects the garbage. This is a serious problem here in Piedmont. But I see that it's the same story everywhere in the world. I don't know in France, but I see my friends in England report the same thing. So I don't know why people is so crazy to throw away a lot of garbage. But you can't believe how many things you can see from the sky, especially near the rivers. Near the rivers, I don't know why. And in the embankment of the railways, I don't know why everyone wants to throw garbage. And we have a free of charge communal garbage dump where you can go there to dump anything free of charge. I don't know why people throw away everything.
We see some of that as well here. Not very common, fortunately, but it is the way it is. So I want to show some comments we are receiving here. So this myth, for example. Hi Giovanni, what is the most common mistake new students make? That's a great question. That puts us into the balloon training, and so
yes. Well, the most common mistake new students make, if they start from zero with me, normally not many mistakes. Sorry, but if they come like according to the now with the ASA rule, especially all the hours have to be with an instructor. But with the UK rules, you can do a lot of hours with your father, your grandfather, with your uncle, and then you can get bad habits. But the common mistake is to burn too much and then pull the rip. And if you start doing get this bad habit, it's difficult to get it out.
Okay.
This is the in flight. I mean, in flight is burning too much and then pulling the rip to correct the mistake. That's okay. Everyone does this.
What if someone gets excited about flying a balloon and wants to give it a try? I want, I really believe and I'm passionate about trying to make ballooning more popular in as many ways as possible and communicating on that and all of that. So what tip would you give to that person watching us here today, or a video about a balloon or a balloon in the sky? What tip would you tell him to move him to a possible balloon pilot, to transform, to convert him? What's your message?
Well, the thing is just try to fly. Normally, most of the students, they have never been flying, or they have had a flight as a passenger in a ride operation. That is totally different. So if you have never been in a balloon, try to fly with me. You will be addicted immediately. With my friend Paolo Nano, we say that this is a virus, and when you get it, it's for forever. I have to say that I get a lot of requests, especially from southern Italy, of people that they want to get the balloon license just because they want to start a career taking paying passengers. But that's not the right way to do. You must start as with a passion of flying. If not, cannot be a job like everyone else. Maybe in an aircraft, commercial aircraft could be. For me, certainly not with the balloon. You cannot be like a bus driver or something like this. So a lot of people calls me from places where it's very difficult to fly, like Calabria or Puglia, where it is very windy, no places for landing. I want to start my balloon. I want to buy a big balloon to take 20 passengers. Jesus, you cannot do this. You must start with small balloon, get a lot of hours. And but how many hours? I think minimum 100 hours to get some experience. If not, you're not safe. That's safety is all.
But you're raising a great point. I mean, ballooning is seen, or nowadays is mainly a business, a passenger business. But it's great to see that you keep this connection with the real ballooning, with the roots, which is just flying and having a ton of fun. And this is what people need to realize. This is a great family hobby that you can share with friends, and and shine happiness all around you. It's so nice.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, my wife, she enjoys flying with me a lot. During the last balloon meeting, I decided only to fly the duo air chair. So we managed to fly with her, with this sort of chair. And she enjoyed the flying very much with me among all the other balloons. I didn't want it to have any students or someone else, just my wife and myself flying the dwyer chair. And it was beautiful, very beautiful flying. But one very important thing I have to say for ballooning, you must have a good crew, a dedicated crew. The crew is incredibly important. If you're lucky to have a very good crew, that helps you a lot and makes your flying much safer. At the beginning, it was complicated to find crew because in Italy, everyone wants to fly. No one wants to crew. Some of the pilots, students, they are crew, then they become pilot, and then they are no more crew, and they start looking for crew themselves. So crew is a very important part of our sport, and you must treat them very well.
But it's so rewarding at the same time because it's a great opportunity to make a very nice human experience, I think. So what is crew for people not knowing about ballooning here? Crew is the people that retrieve you when you take off, they help you inflate and all of that. But basically they can be friends, family members that from time to time you bring them on board, you fly together, so you share the happiness of flying. And I mean, it's a big part of ballooning. You're totally correct there. Yeah.
That is, yeah.
I have a couple of questions here more. If you could go back in time and take any of your many flights again, which would it be from this myth again?
Certainly the flight across the Alps in winter in Chateau, or the night flying in gas balloon. I think the best ever flight I did was, apart crossing the Alps from Chateau, trying to come home, but the best flight I did were flying at night during, for example, the World Air Games in Seville in Spain. Always above the clouds at night, was in the total silence. It's magic. I think there is nothing better than flying at night in a gas balloon.
Oh, great.
Fly a lot of hours with a hot air balloon. Normally it's 1.5 to 2 hours. Sometimes with students, we can stretch to 3 hours, maybe 4. Or when I am alone, I can do long flights. But with a gas balloon, you can fly 1, 2 days or 3 days. As the very expert pilots of the Gordon Bennett. And flying at night is it's unbelievable, something magic. Yeah.
You know, if ballooning like it is addictive, I don't even want to try gas ballooning.
No, you have to try,
so,
because it's very, very, very nice. And my dream was to have a floating house in the sky, like a cloud staying there. I know it's impossible for the weather, but that's a dream.
Okay. I have one more. Paul Gibbs. What is Giovanni's favorite balloon type?
Well, I'm very tiny and light, and so I was using 105, always crossing the altitude. I did the Michel Arnaud Cup. I won the Michel Arnaud Cup with the 77 without oxygen, but I think 105 is enough. Flying myself with the 6 titanium tanks, I can fly for 8-10 hours.
You told me something. I would like to extend this question to the average pilot or to you. What is your favorite balloon size for everyday flight, for just going out and having fun, 2 or 3? And
my idea is fun fly is a 70 or a 77. Because we started with a 77, that was the same size of the Montgolfier brother. So I think 77 is the right size. If you want to take some friends, a 90 or a 105 are much better. And that for me is enough. Because you can handle the balloon yourself. It's not too heavy. You can load and unload from the trailer. Even we use now little Caterpillar tractors. But for me, big balloons are only good as a dealer, but not certainly as a pilot.
I see the point. So, by the way, so John Aimo, you run the school. You are Cameron importer in Italy, right?
Yes.
So
since 1992. So also one of the oldest dealer of Cameron, I think.
Yeah. So, John, I'm very, very glad that you have been here. I think it has been great to have you on board. Is there something else you want to say, a message you want to share with us or with the ballooning community? Or, you know, we are here, everybody celebrating your long career. So if you have a message here you can go.
I think that everyone should try flying a balloon. I think if you fly balloon, if you fly a lot, you can see the world from a different point of view, and you can understand a lot of things. So I suggest to everyone fly a lot with small or big balloons, but I prefer small balloon, as I said, and even the one you make are very good for fun. It's a lot of fun, and unfortunately, aviation is not very appreciated in Italy. General aviation is dying, and but still, I think I can suggest everyone to fly in the balloon for fun.
I can't agree. Yeah.
Look at.
So we start putting it into practice. I will come to visit you as soon as I can with my little FlyDOO. You've never flown a FlyDOO, so let's fix that as soon as we can.
I saw you flying with the engine in Mondovì, but my dreams is to cross the Alps from your side to Italy. I know many years ago, a gas balloon pilot did a flight from Turin to Lyon, crossing the Alps from east to west, but that's very difficult because the winds normally are the other way. But I would like to fly from your place, like, you know, the pilot living in Monte Carlo, that he managed to fly from Monte Carlo to Saluzzo. So he crossed the Maritime Alps from south to north. And so I think this winter, why not? I will come to Gaptalar
Let's work on that, John. So once again, it has been great. Thanks for everybody watching here. We will post this on YouTube, so your heritage can be there for a long time. So, John, thank you very much, and for joining us, and see you soon, John.
Grazie mille, ciao.
Grazie, ciao.